The wind was strong over the cliffs of Jara, cold and sharp. It howled across the rocks like a scream from the sky. The ground near the edge was cracked and dusty, where even plants didn't grow. And at the very edge stood a small alien girl, her. Eyes were wide with tears, her tiny hands shaking as she screamed into the open air. She's still up there. Please, someone help. Save my mother from the sky hunters. But no one came. Behind her, the villagers stood in silence. Their long ears pressed back in fear, their eyes full of pity, but not bravery. One of the older ones whispered, "It's too late," and turned away. Her name was Virel, and she was only 9 cycles old. Her skin was soft purple, marked with dirt and dried blood, her mother's blood. Her clothes were torn, and her knees were scraped from the fall, but she didn't care. Her mother had pushed her off the high ledge to save her from the sky hunters. Now her mother was still up there, alone, wounded, and surrounded by the flying monsters that ruled the cliffs. The sky hunters were not normal birds. They were massive, with sharp metal claws and wings that could cut air like blades, half machine, half beast remnants of old wars. They killed anything that moved in their airspace. Even the bravest fighters avoided them. Virel dropped to her knees, crying harder now. "Please, anyone. She saved me. Please don't let her die." But no one moved. Then someone stepped forward. It was a man, a human, tall, broad, and strange-looking to the alien villagers. His skin was pale, his beard dark, and he wore heavy boots. A rope was tied around his shoulder, and an old climbing hook hung from his belt. His name was Eli. He didn't speak at first. He just looked at the girl, then at the cliffs above. His eyes were calm, focused. He had seen danger before. He had fought in wars humans no longer talked about, but this was different. "Is she alive?" he asked quietly. Virel looked up, surprised anyone had answered. She nodded quickly. "Yes, I saw her move, but she's hurt. She can't climb down, and the sky hunters are still up there." Eli turned to the cliff. His eyes traced the rocks, the cracks, the angles. He could see at the spot where someone might survive. A narrow ledge halfway up. A few drops of dark blood stained the rock below it. "She bought time for her child," Eli muttered. Behind him, a villager warned, "Human, you don't understand the danger. They kill everything." But Eli had already pulled the rope from his shoulder. The villagers went silent as he tied the rope to a strong post near the edge. He checked his gear quickly, like he had done it 1,000 times, then he looked down at the little girl again. "What's your name?" "Virel," she said, wiping her tears. He reached into his pocket and gave her a small communicator stone. It glowed softly. "Keep this with you." Eli said, "I'll talk to you through it when I reach her. Stay here. Don't follow me. Understand?" She nodded, holding the stone close to her chest. Eli didn't say anything else. He turned and walked to the edge. Then he began to climb. The wind pulled at his coat. The rock was cold and rough under his hands, but he climbed with strength and skill. His hands and boots moved with quiet confidence. This was not his first time on a dangerous cliff. Below, the villagers watched in silence. Some shook their heads, expecting him to fall halfway up. A screech cut through the air. A sky hunter dove from the clouds, its wings wide, its eyes burning red. Eli pressed his body flat against the rocks. The creature missed him by inches, slashing the stone instead. Rocks broke loose and tumbled down. Virel screamed, but Eli didn't fall. He waited for the right moment, then climbed again. Faster now, his breath was heavy. But his grip was strong. The creatures circled above him, angry, watching him move toward their ledge. Then he saw her. The alien mother was lying on her side. Her leg was twisted, her eyes closed. Her chest moved slowly. She was alive. Eli reached the ledge and pulled himself up beside her. He looked at her injuries, then tapped his communicator stone. "Virel," he said, "I found her. She's alive, but she's hurt bad. I need to carry her down. You'll need to be strong, okay?" Virel's voice came back, soft but full of hope. "Okay. Please bring her back. Please." Eli looked up again. The sky hunters were coming back, and he had no time left. Eli adjusted the straps on his back. The alien mother's body was light, but the rocks beneath him were not forgiving. One wrong step could send them both falling to the jagged valley far below. He didn't have time to rest. The sky hunters were circling again. He looked down, far down. The cliff was steep and cruel, but he could see a small, purple figure still. Waiting, Virel hadn't moved an inch. She clutched the communicator stone tightly. Eyes locked on the cliffs above, Eli gave her a quick nod, though she was too far to see it. The wind shifted. A deep screech echoed through the sky, and Eli knew what it meant. They're hunting again. He muttered. The sky hunters flew in sharp circles, like they were waiting for him to move. Their claws gleamed silver under the light, and small sparks danced off the metal tips of their wings. They weren't just beasts, they were machines made for war. A mix of wild instincts and cold programming. Eli took a deep breath, then tightened the straps holding the alien woman to his back. Her leg was broken, and her arm had 2 deep cuts. But the worst part was the purple-black color around her neck, the sky hunter poison. It moved slowly through her body, giving him maybe an hour at best. "Hang in there," he whispered to her, though she didn't respond. Then he started the descent. Each movement was careful and slow. His gloved hands moved from rock to rock, boot to boot, testing every surface before shifting weight, with the woman tied to his back. His balance was off, and the pain in his right shoulder, a gift from an old war, began to burn again. Halfway down, the rock crumbled under one foot. He slipped slightly, smashing his knee into the wall, but he gritted his teeth and held on. The woman groaned faintly on his back, waking just for a second before going silent again. From below, Virel's voice came through the communicator stone. "Are you okay? Please talk to me, human." Eli pressed the small device on his chest, breathing hard. "I'm here. Virel still climbing. She's alive, but I have to move faster now. The poison is spreading. Please don't fall," she whispered. Eli gave a faint smile. "Despite the danger, I don't plan to." Suddenly, a loud screech tore through the sky. A sky hunter dove fast, its metal wings humming with energy. Eli couldn't move fast enough, but he twisted to the side just in time. The beast's claws slashed the stone beside him, sending a storm of dust and rocks into the air. "Damn," Eli muttered, shielding the alien woman's body with his own. His back burned where a claw had grazed him, but it was shallow. He had seen worse, survived worse. The creature screamed again and pulled up, climbing into the clouds. Eli knew it would come back with more of its kind. They hunted in groups, and once they chose prey, they didn't stop. He had to move faster. He found a narrow path leading across the cliff, not down, but toward a section of jagged stone that looked like it might be easier to descend. It was riskier closer to the airspace the hunters claimed, but he didn't have a choice. He stepped onto it. The rocks shifted under his boots, but held. Slowly, breath by breath, he edged along the narrow path. The wind pushed against him like a living thing, trying to throw him off. Then, another sound. Not one hunter, 3. They were flying together now, forming a triangle in the air, their sharp red eyes focused only on him. No mercy, no fear, just one target. Eli ducked behind a tall rock, breathing hard. "Virel," he said into the communicator, "I need a distraction. Can you do something? Make noise, throw rocks, anything to draw them lower." There was silence for a moment. Then, Virel answered, "Oh, okay. I'll try." Below, she grabbed a heavy stick and started banging it against a piece of metal. Making loud, wild noise, she screamed at the sky, even though she was scared. "Over here! Come here, you flying junk piles!" The hunters noticed two of them. Began drifting downward. Curious about the sound, Eli took his chance. He dashed across the cliff path, gripping the ledge with one hand while balancing with his knees. His boots scraped, almost lost hold, but he pushed forward, fast and silent. The third hunter spotted him at the last second, but it was too late. He had reached a thicker ledge. Safer, with a small crack to hide in, he crouched there, holding the alien woman tighter, whispering to her, "Almost there, just a little more." Her eyes fluttered open for a second, and she whispered, "My daughter, safe." "Yes," Eli said. "She's waiting for you. Now stay alive." The sky hunters circled above, confused now. Trying to locate their prey again, below, Virel continued making noise, shouting at the sky, but her voice was getting weaker too. Eli knew the next part would be the hardest, a vertical drop with no clear handholds. And he had no strength left to climb it straight, but maybe he could jump. He looked down if he could hit the landing right. He might survive if he missed. Both of them would die. He looked up at the sky one last time and whispered, "You better catch us if we fall." Then he leaned back, pulled the woman close, and leaped. Eli didn't remember the fall, only the sound of wind screaming past his ears. And the way the alien woman's body pressed tightly against his chest as they dropped. He hit the lower ledge hard, pain shooting through his legs like fire. But he didn't fall, not yet. He rolled, protecting the woman with his body. Dust and rock scraped his back. His breath was gone for a second, but he was still alive. The alien mother groaned faintly in his arms, still breathing, barely above. The sky darkened again. 3 sky hunters returned faster this time, angry. Their wings glowed with sharp light, and their bodies spun in the air like deadly knives. Eli staggered to his feet. Dragging the woman behind a large rock formation, he crouched low, scanning the air. "They're coming for us now," he muttered. "No more hiding," he pressed, the communicator on his chest trying to speak through the stone. "Virel, I made it to the lower ledge, but I'm pinned. They're angry now. Too close to the village to call for help. Can you hear me?" Static, Virel. Still nothing. He looked toward the cliff below, far in the distance. He saw the girl's small figure still waiting, but she wasn't moving. Her arms were waving, but he couldn't hear her. Something was wrong with the signal. Eli checked his pack. He had one tool left, a small flare stick from his soldier days. It was meant to blind enemy drones, but maybe it would work on these things. He pulled it out and waited, crouched behind the rocks. The first sky hunter dived, its beak open wide, claws stretched out. A horrible machine howl burst from its throat. Eli waited until the last second, then pulled the flare stick and slammed it against the rock. Boom! A burst of white-blue light exploded upward, so bright it turned the world into glowing fog. The sky hunter screamed and spun out of control, its metal wings slashing wildly as it crashed into the cliff wall and exploded in a shower of sparks. One down, the other 2 shrieked in rage. Eli didn't wait. He grabbed the alien woman again and began running across the ledge, looking for a way down. The rocks were uneven and sharp, cutting his boots, but he didn't stop. A blast of air knocked him sideways. One of the hunters had landed nearby, claws slamming into the ground. It jumped toward him like a steel panther, mouth open wide. Eli pulled his climbing axe and swung. Clang! The axe hit the beast's jaw. Sparks flew, but it wasn't enough. The hunter struck him with its wing, throwing him back into the rocks. His shoulder cracked against the stone, blood filling his mouth. The alien woman rolled nearby. Too weak to scream, too sick to crawl. The sky hunter raised one claw, and Eli moved. He didn't think, he just launched forward, diving at the creatures. Leg and ramming his axe into the joint, the metal bent, and the beast roared in pain. Spinning wildly, Eli used the moment to grab the alien woman and roll them both into a narrow cave in the cliffside, just big enough for a man to squeeze through. The creature tried to follow, but its body was too big. Its claws scraped the stone. Furious but useless, inside the cave, Eli gasped for air. His body was shaking now. Blood dripped from his nose, and his right arm felt almost numb. But he looked at the woman. She was still alive. He tore off a strip of cloth from his coat and tied it around her leg to slow the bleeding. Then he touched the side of her face. "You have to stay awake," he said softly. "Your daughter's waiting. You told me to protect her, but I can't do that without you." Her eyes fluttered slightly. A whisper left her lips. "Varel? Safe?" "Yes," Eli said. "She's safe." A loud sound outside the second sky hunter had landed near the cave. It was scratching at the walls now, searching, its red eyes glowing through the cracks in the rock. Eli's heart pounded. He had nothing left, no weapons, no flares, and no strength. But he had an idea. He gently lowered the woman onto a smooth patch of stone, then crawled toward the cave opening. He picked up a few jagged rocks and stacked them just inside the edge, balancing them carefully. Then he shouted, "Hey, over here." The sky hunter shrieked and charged at the noise. Its body slammed into the opening. The rocks fell, and so did the sky hunter. Its own weight broke the cliff edge under it, and the monster fell screaming into the darkness below, crashing down onto the sharp rocks far beneath them. Silence returned. Eli collapsed, breathing hard. The alien mother reached out with weak fingers and touched his arm. "You? Human," she said, voice broken. "Why help?" He looked at her with tired eyes, because no one else did. She smiled just a little before losing consciousness again. Eli checked her pulse. Still there, but fading fast. The poison was winning. He pressed the communicator again. "Varel, come in. Please, I need help. I can't carry her much farther." Finally, a crackle and her voice. "I'm coming. I have medicine. Please don't let her die. I'm coming, human, I promise." Eli looked toward the cliff below and saw the girl begin to climb, carrying a small satchel strapped across her chest. Her steps were small but steady, a child climbing for her mother. Eli leaned against the rock and closed his eyes. The fight wasn't over yet, but maybe they still had a chance. Eli's breath came in slow, painful bursts. The cave was cold, narrow, and dark, safe from the sky hunters, but not from time, and time was running out. The alien woman lay still beside him. Her breathing was weak, and her skin had turned a sickly blue around the neck and chest. The poison from the sky hunter's sting was spreading faster now, and her pulse had started to fade. He touched her forehead, was cold. Her eyes opened for a brief second, full of confusion and pain. She tried to speak, but her voice was too soft, too broken. Eli leaned in. "Don't speak," he whispered. "Save your strength. Your daughter is coming. Just hold on." The woman blinked slowly. Her lips moved again, forming a word, "Varel." "Yes," Eli said, his voice steady. "She's climbing to us. She's brave, just like you." Outside the cave, the wind roared again, but there were no more sky hunters for now. Maybe the beasts were still searching in the clouds, or maybe they thought their prey was dead, but Eli knew they would return. He pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around the woman's body, trying to keep her warm. Then he searched his belt pouch, looking for anything at all. He found a tiny injector capsule, a human-made survival stim. It wouldn't cure poison, but it might keep her alive for a little longer. "Sorry if this hurts," he said quietly, and pressed it into her arm. The woman flinched slightly. Her eyes opened wider for a second, then slowly closed again. "Stay with me," Eli whispered. "Don't you dare give up now." He checked the communicator stone, tapped it twice. "Virel, talk to me. How close are you?" Her voice came back, breathless but determined. "I can see the broken ledge. I'm halfway there. I have the cure stone. My uncle gave it to me before he ran. It still works, I think. Be careful climbing." Eli warned, "No sudden moves. And watch the right side the rocks. There are loose." "I know," she said. "I saw you fall. I saw you fight them. You really came for her." "I said I would," Eli replied. "Oh, I need you to finish the rest. Just a little more." Eli turned his attention back to the woman. Her hand was twitching now, her fingers curling and uncurling slowly. A strange noise came from her chest, like she was struggling to breathe. Then her eyes snapped open. She gasped, then coughed. Thick blue saliva dripped from her mouth. Eli grabbed her shoulders, trying to keep her still. "It's okay. Breathe slow, don't fight it." The woman gritted her teeth, her body shaking violently. Her legs spasmed, and her arms flailed once before falling flat again. A soft moan escaped her lips. She was fading. Eli grabbed the communicator again. "Virel, you need to hurry. She's seizing if you have that cure. Now is the time." "I'm coming," she cried. "I can see the cave. Don't let her go." Moments passed like hours. Eli looked out the crack in the cave wall and saw her, a small figure, climbing with her hands and knees, a leather satchel bouncing against her side. Her face was pale with fear, but she didn't stop. Almost there. He whispered to himself, "Come on, kid." Then one of the sky hunters returned. A loud screech echoed across the cliffside, and a huge shadow passed over the cave. The creature circled once, then locked eyes on the small girl climbing the rocks. "No." Eli breathed. He grabbed a rock, any rock, and threw it out of the cave as hard as he could. "Hey, over here." The hunter turned its head but kept going toward Virel. She screamed, clinging tight to the ledge. The wind from the beast's wings nearly knocked her off. Eli knew what he had to do. He stood up, stumbled to the edge of the cave, and raised both hands, shouting louder than he had ever shouted in his life. "Come and get me. I'm the one who killed your friends." The sky hunter heard him now. It turned, diving fast toward the cave, its claws ready to rip through stone. Virel used the moment to scramble into the last gap and crawl into the cave, tears in her eyes. "I made it," she cried, holding up the satchel. "I made it." "Then do it," Eli shouted, dragging her away from the opening. "Hurry." She opened the bag and pulled out a glowing stone cure crystal made from old science and ancient herbs. She placed it against her mother's chest, whispering soft words in her native tongue. The crystal began to pulse. Blue light spread across the mother's body, slow at first, then faster. The poison marks began to fade, and her breathing steadied. Outside, the sky hunter crashed into the side of the cliff and flew upward again, able to fit through the cave mouth. Inside, the woman opened her eyes, clear and focused this time. Her voice was dry, but full of life. "Virel, you came back." "I never left," the girl cried, holding her mother tightly. Then the woman looked past her daughter at Eli and whispered, "You're not one of us. But you saved me." Eli gave a tired nod, his body leaning against the wall. "I just did what no one else would." The woman's lips trembled. "Thank you, human." Then she closed her eyes, not in death, but in peaceful sleep. Eli sat back, heart still pounding, eyes watching the sky. The next battle was coming soon, but at least she had a chance now. The moment the alien mother's eyes gently closed in healing sleep. Eli stood back. His body was shaking, his shirt soaked with blood and sweat. But he didn't rest. They had survived the poison, but not the mountain, and not the sky hunters. Eli peeked out from the cave again. The winged beast was still circling above. Its glowing red eyes scanned the cliffside like searchlights. Its partner had returned too, flying higher above the clouds. They hadn't given up. "They're calling for a third," Eli muttered. "A full hunting trio. That means they're preparing to finish this." Virel hugged her mother tightly, then looked up at the human with wide, frightened eyes. "We can't stay here?" she asked. Eli shook his head. "No, we're too exposed. These rocks won't protect us forever, and once the last one comes, we'll have no chance." Virel's lips trembled. "But how do we carry her?" "She's still too weak to walk," Eli knelt down, checked the straps of his rope and pack. He removed everything non-essential. "Okay, here again," he said. "But we'll have to move fast, and we'll take the long route down the left side. It's harder, but has more cover. I'll follow," Virel whispered. "I won't be scared." Eli gave her a tired smile. "You're already braver than most soldiers I knew." He gently lifted the alien woman onto his back, her weight heavier now with the strain of healing. He wrapped her arms around his neck and tied her legs with rope so she wouldn't fall. Then he nodded at Virel. "Stay close, never leave my side." They began the descent. The cliff edge crumbled under Eli's boots with each step. His injured leg burned with every move, but he pushed forward. The mother's breathing was steadier, now still weak, but no longer fading. The sky above was silent for a few minutes. Then came the scream, louder than before. The third sky hunter had arrived. It dove fast, faster than the others. Its wings spread wide like a shadow of death across the rocks. Eli didn't stop climbing. "Move," he shouted. "Stay low." The cliff path bent into a narrow tunnel barely big enough for one person. Eli squeezed through first, brushing jagged rock with his shoulder. Behind him, Virel followed. Crawling quickly, the sky hunter couldn't fit, but it hovered above, screeching in fury. Its tail lashed the rock wall, breaking loose stones that fell dangerously close to Virel's head. Just a little more. Eli yelled. They came out the other side of the tunnel, lawn to an open slope. Too steep, too exposed. And the sky hunters dove again. Eli turned sharply. Pressing Virel against the wall, one hunter aimed straight at him, claws flashing like silver. Lightning, Eli dropped to one knee and reached into his belt pouch. He only had one smoke flash left. He slammed it into the rock just as the hunter reached them. Boom. Blast of red smoke burst upward, blinding the creature. Its wings clipped the edge of the cliff and it spun off course, smashing into a sharp outcrop with a sickening crunch. "Go," Eli shouted, pushing Virel ahead. She ran, her small hands gripping the rocks, her feet slipping but never stopping. Behind her, Eli limped fast, the alien mother tied tight to his back. But the second sky hunter wasn't fooled by the smoke. It flew low and wide, its red eyes locked on them like a predator ready to strike. It opened its mouth and fired a sonic burst. The blast hit the cliff and shattered a ledge below them. The ground under Eli's feet cracked. He slipped. The mother on his back tilted to the side, almost falling, but Eli gripped the rope and slammed his hand into the stone, holding them both up with one arm. "Eli," Virel screamed. "I'm okay," he lied, blood dripping from his hand. "Keep going. Find the tree ledge." Virel ran forward and spotted a small flat platform with ancient trees growing from the cliffside. She crawled onto it, then turned back, holding out her hands. "Give her to me," she cried. "I can pull her up." Eli swung himself too. The ledge, using the last of his strength, together. They pulled the alien mother onto the platform and collapsed beside her. The second sky hunter circled again, and the third was coming fast this time without fear. They had learned, "We're not going to make it," Eli muttered, grabbing a sharp rock as a weapon. "If this is it, I'll buy you both enough time to escape." "No," Virel said firmly. "We stay together," but before the sky hunters could attack, a loud blast echoed across the cliffs. Boom, a bright flare exploded in the sky. Then another, and another. Virel gasped. "The villagers?" From the far side of the cliffs, small lights appeared, blinking flash bombs thrown from the valley edge. Loud whistles followed, strange instruments echoing in the sky. The sky hunters paused, confused by the sudden noise and light. They circled once more, then turned away, flying back into the clouds. Eli dropped the rock in his hand and leaned back against the tree. Exhausted, Virel fell beside her mother, tears running down her cheeks. "We made it." Eli smiled weakly. "Yeah, we did." The wind had quieted, but Eli knew it wouldn't last. He leaned against the tree trunk, trying to keep his eyes open. His arms were shaking. His shoulder burned from the fall, and his ribs ached with every breath. But he stayed alert, watching. The sky, the alien mother, lay beside him, her head resting in Virel's lap. Her breathing was stronger now, and the blue color in her skin had begun to fade. But she was still too weak to walk or speak much. Virel stroked her mother's hair gently, whispering soft words in their alien language. Eli didn't understand the words, but he understood the feeling. It was the same across every world, every species. Love, fear, hope. "How far are we from the ground?" Virel asked quietly. Eli looked down over the edge of the tree ledge. The cliff stretched down another 100 feet steep, sharp and deadly. "Far," he replied. "But not impossible. Can we climb it?" Eli glanced at his hands, cut, bruised, one finger dislocated. His right leg was swelling, and he wasn't sure if his shoulder was broken or just badly torn. "Not with her on my back," he said, "and not with sky hunters above." "Then what do we do?" Virel asked, her voice trembling. "We can't stay here." Eli was about to answer when he heard a faint noise, a whistle. He froze. The same kind of signal the villagers had used minutes ago. 3 tones, then silence. Another whistle replied this time closer. From below, he stood and moved carefully to the edge. Peering down, movement. Someone was climbing toward them, fast and skilled, wearing brown robes and a satchel across his back. It was an older alien male with wide shoulders and long white hair tied behind his ears. "Someone's coming," Eli said, stepping back. "Could be help, could be not." Virel gasped. "That's Turan, my uncle. He came." Moments later, the man climbed onto the ledge and pulled down his mask. His face was worn, tired, but his eyes were sharp. "Virel," he said, pulling her into a hug. "I saw the smoke from the village when the flare went off. We thought it was a trap, but then your voice came through the old stones. I followed your trail." He looked at the mother, then at Eli. His eyes narrowed with confusion and something like respect. "You carried her all this way?" he asked the human. Eli nodded, too tired to speak. Turan didn't argue. He knelt beside his sister and checked her condition. His long fingers glowed faintly as he pressed them to her temple. Reading her signs, "She's weak, but stable," he said. "We can get her down, but it will take all of us." "I'm not sure I can climb again," Eli admitted. "I'm done, I think." Turan looked at him, then slowly unbuckled the satchel from his back. Inside was a small device, part tech, part crystal. He pressed it against Eli's arm. A wave of warmth rushed through Eli's body. His pain didn't vanish, but the edge was dulled. His legs steadied, and he could breathe again. "What is that?" Eli asked. "Old medicine," Turan replied. "It won't last long, but it should be enough to help you finish this." Together, they created a makeshift harness using vines and rope. Eli helped guide Varel and her mother, while Torin led the descent, carefully choosing a hidden path that spiraled slowly down the cliffside. It was dangerous. The rocks crumbled, the path narrowed, and more than once they almost slipped. Halfway down, the sound came again. Screeching from above, the sky hunters had returned, but this time they didn't dive. They hovered above, unsure, waiting. Eli looked up and narrowed his eyes. "They're not attacking," he said slowly. "Why?" Torin frowned. "They sense a shift. We're too close to the ground now." Too close to the village, then more lights appeared below them. Lanterns, figures. Dozens of villagers stood near the base of the cliff, holding lights, banging drums, sounding flutes, using old traditions to drive away flying predators. The sky hunters circled one last time and vanished into the clouds. Varel gasped. They came. They really came. Eli wasn't sure what surprised him more, the sky hunters leaving, or the villagers actually coming to help. He saw faces below that had watched in silence before, now calling out and reaching up when they finally reached the ground. The villagers ran forward to catch the alien mother. Others offered food and blankets. Varel was swept into the arms of other children. Crying with joy, Torin turned to Eli. "You saved my sister's life." He said simply, "We owe you a great debt." Eli shook his head. "I didn't do it for a debt." Torin gave a small smile. "I know. That's why it matters." Then Varel ran back to him, threw her arms around his waist, and looked up with teary eyes. "Are you leaving now?" Eli blinked, unsure how to answer. She held his hand tightly. "My mother is alive because of you. I'm alive because of you. Please, don't go yet." Eli looked out at the stars above the cliffs, still glowing through the thin clouds. "I won't," he said quietly. "Not yet." The fire crackled gently in the center of the village square. Soft blue flames danced on special Jara stones that only burned when used to honor someone who had done something sacred. Eli sat on a wooden log, his arm wrapped in healing cloth, his ribs tight with bandages beneath his shirt. His body still hurt, but it was a good kind of pain. The kind that reminded him he was alive and that someone else was, too, across from him. Varel sat beside her mother, holding her hand tightly. The alien woman had finally regained full consciousness. Her body was still weak, but she could sit now, speak, and smile. The entire village had gathered, not to mock, not to hide in silence, but to listen. Torin stood in the center and raised his hand for quiet. "We gathered tonight to thank the one who did what none of us dared," he said, his voice calm and clear. "When we turned away, when we chose fear, he chose action. A stranger, a human, carried our sister through fire, wind, poison, and death." Eli shifted uncomfortably, unused to the attention. Torin looked at him. "Eli, of Earth, we call you Vakar, protector of life. This name is rarely given, and never." To an outsider, Eli nodded quietly. "I didn't do it for a name." Torin smiled. "That's why it fits." One by one, villagers approached Elanot with words, but with small gifts, a seed stone, a woven bracelet, a cup of mountain water. These were not items of wealth but of meaning. Each one said, "We see you now, human. And we are not afraid anymore." Varel stood beside him and gently placed a carved pendant around his neck. It was shaped like two hands holding a circle, the symbol of family and courage. "My mother made this for my father before he died. She whispered, now it's yours." Eli looked at her, his eyes soft. "Are you sure?" She nodded quickly. "You saved us. You didn't have to, but you did. That means you're part of us now." He looked at the alien mother, who sat beside the fire. Her eyes met his, warm and quiet. "You risked your life for a child you didn't even know," she said, her voice still hoarse but full of strength. You carried me through death's mouth when my own people did nothing. I don't have words for that. But I have something else. She reached into a small cloth bag and pulled out a symbol etched in silver, a traditional Jara family crest. She pressed it into his hand. I offer this, she said, because, in our ways, it means you are. No longer alone, Eli stared at the symbol. Surprised, this means I'm family. The woman nodded slowly. If you want it to mean that Eli looked at the quiet stars above, then at Virel, then back at the villagers who once looked away but now stood together. Yeah, he said, I think I do. The fire popped softly. And for a long time, no one said anything. They didn't need to. The mountain behind them stood tall. The sky hunters were gone for now, driven away by light, sound, and something stronger than fear, bravery, kindness, and one human who refused to look away. Later that night, as the fire burned low, Virel walked beside Eli as he sat on a quiet bench outside the healing hut. She looked up at him with big eyes. Do you think the sky hunters will come back? She asked. Eli nodded. Maybe. They're not gone forever. But now the village knows what to do. They won't hide again. Virel was quiet for a while. Then she looked up again, cheeks turning a soft lavender. Can I ask you something? Sure. Eli said. She sat beside him, swinging her feet, then whispered. Can I call you Papa? Eli blinked, his throat tight. He didn't answer right away. He looked up at the sky, the same stars he used to watch on Earth, now shining over a place he never meant to stay, a world that had feared him, ignored him, but now gave him a name, a family, and maybe a future. He looked down at Virel, who stared at him with so much hope in her eyes, more than he had seen in years. He smiled. Yeah, he said, you can, and in that moment, far away from Earth, far from war and pain and loss, a human who was once just a stranger became something else. A father, a protector, and to one little girl on a distant world a hero who would never let go.